I'm Lisa Watson, co-host of Enlighten Up podcast, and we're here with you today to answer some questions about episode number 10. So I'm here with Nicole Frolick, the co-host of Enlighten Up, and I'm just going to go ahead and read the questions that were sent in to us that we have. The first one is there a DMT supplement, and have you tried any?
I have definitely not tried any supplements. I don't know if there are, other than what the ayahuasca tea is that Heather mentioned on the show, and I know that they use that in a lot of shamanic rituals to help with the journeying and all that, but I've never done it. Have you done it? You've never
I have
done
not.
No, yeah.
No.
But other than that, I don't believe there's a supplement. However, to improve DMT release, we talked about on the podcast, meditation is a huge pineal activator. So that's going to help stimulate production of the DMT in your pineal gland. So that's probably your best thing to do. But then we did talk about a bunch of other supplements that you can do in your diet, such as boron, taking a green supplement.
All things for the pineal gland.
Yeah, all
so
things for the pineal gland. So it's
decalcify that.
It's more so about activating your pineal gland and keeping it healthy, which will help stimulate proper release of your DMT.
Regarding sodium fluoride in our water, it was discussed that they want us to be asleep. Who are they? Oh, that's such a great question.
Yeah, it is a good question.
We ask that question ourselves sometimes.
I mean, I've never met them. But to put it mildly, there is a group that a lot of people call the Cabal. Or the Illuminati, and a lot of people think that's a conspiracy, and then there's other people who really do believe it exists. So not sure where everyone falls on that, but I certainly believe it exists.
I believe it exists.
Yeah,
Lisa
does.
I do. I believe it's, for people who've seen The Matrix, I believe it's just, it's kind of like that. There's the people who want control and power in the world, and they're trying to keep everyone else believing that things aren't necessarily the way they are.
Yeah,
and that they don't have control.
If you've read the book, The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown,
yes.
That is a really good insight into what we're talking about. These power structures that are fictional in Dan Brown's book likely are not fictional in our lives. That is actually another podcast I think we need to get into on the Matrix and what it means and how they use it and how they use film and movies and books to actually work against the law of free will. I think that's a really good podcast to get into. So
there's a lot of movies and books and things that are.
So I think without getting too far into that now, we will do a podcast for you guys on that eventually, because I think it's a really good one to know.
Definitely.
But we believe they are called the Cabal or the Illuminati, and they're a group of people, possibly other things. But
we did touch on ETs a little bit.
We did, yeah.
Okay, we might have to go there again.
So, but that's who we believe is they.
Regarding group meditation and pineals in proximity, this clarified for me how prayer can work and why the energy feels different at a group gathering such as a concert. How should we be leveraging this knowledge?
Oh.
Well, what do you think about that, Nicole?
I think it's a really good question, because what we talked about in this episode is the importance of the human collective coming together and working together in a positive way to create a better world that I think everyone, for the most part, wants, but seems to be not realizing that having a collective power when we come together, that we can actually create it much faster than I think we believed it to be. So there was a unity meditation that was held on the Eclipse just recently, held by Corey Good and someone who calls themselves Cobra. And it reached critical mass on the solar eclipse. Lisa and I took part in it. And
at 12:12.
At 12:12 Mountain Standard Time. And the focus of that particular meditation was to focus on peace, forgiveness, joy, unconditional love, just to bring back the healing into the earth. And it was like a 15-minute meditation, and we took part in it. And from what I understand, there was over 250,000 people who did this, and it had a tremendous effect on the planet and human consciousness, from 250,000 pineal glands all meditating at the very same time on a very similar concept and idea of positivity. And I don't know what you felt during your meditation, but during mine, I just saw the most incredible things. I saw people at protests putting down their signs and hugging their opposition. It was really beautiful to watch in my meditation, and I think it's going to have a long-term effect down the road of what could come out of that.
I think simply also, for that question is anytime two people come together for one basic cause or whatever it might be, maybe it's a prayer, and you hear people say that all the time, like, will you pray for my son, he's sick or going through a hard time or something like that. When more than one person come together to pray for something or to focus on a positive outcome, I think that's what Heather was talking about with the pineal gland, is that when there's more than one person together, that there's a more positive effect.
Oh, but let's talk about the negative effect, because I know you brought that up too. Yeah. So with
the they.
Yes. So one of the reasons why, and we've talked about this on our show, why Lisa and I really don't like to watch mainstream media or even alternative media, because not all alternative media is coming from the right place either. But anything that's trying to scare you and put you in fear base and make you think that the whole world is going to hell in a handbasket, that's the kind of energy you don't want to be part of. You don't want to be subjecting yourself to, because when you have the masses watching programming like that, they're all thinking the same thing, and they're all watching the TV at the exact same time. And this is really huge to understand, that all of our pineal glands are now focusing on fear, and it creates that within the world. And so it's really important to understand this, the power behind our pineal gland and what that does to create the reality that we're living in. And to take back your own power and not have your pineal gland manipulated through such things like media
and television shows.
Shows,
like popular shows, like
the
zombie show or whatever.
I mean, it's called programming for a reason.
That's absolutely true.
And really crappy if you're doing the paid programming, because now you're paying for this programming. But it's I think, when you think about it, these shows are scheduled at certain times, which means everyone's watching them at a certain time, and everyone's pineal glands are taking in this thing. So I think that's, we have to be very conscious of the negative effects, but also how we can use it and to turn that around and put it in a really positive way for the human collective.
I think it's really important that we pay attention to our thoughts as well. What is it that we're thinking about? What is it that we're talking about to our friends and our coworkers, and what we're keeping in our mind and we're focusing on. So I think that's really important, to keep your thoughts positive. I don't watch any news at all. I'm the most uninformed person you will probably ever meet when it comes to what's going on.
But it doesn't mean, though, that if you want to be informed, you can't be informed.
No.
There are other ways to get your information. Pay attention to how the news is being delivered to you. Is it being delivered to you in an emotional way, or are they just presenting facts? That's like the biggest question that you ask when you're trying to get your information, because there are places that I'll get my news from where the person who's delivering it is really just delivering it fact for fact for fact. They're not bringing in their emotions. They're not bringing in their outrage.
Trying to scare you by saying, they're not at 10 to how you're going to die.
Yeah, they're not bringing in their judgment. They're just saying, this is what this is, such and such and such and such an idea. So I think that's the best advice I can give anyone who's trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I still get my information but not be tied into mainstream media or even alternative news that is also utilizing fear as well too.
Okay, so our next question is, if your pineal gland is calcified, does that mean that you are producing less melatonin than a non-calcified pineal gland?
When your pineal gland is becoming calcified, then it's not able to do its job, which is to release the proper amounts of melatonin, to release the proper amounts of DMT. But for melatonin's sake, so Heather talked about this on the show, where the whole reason when you have this imbalance of melatonin, then your whole sleep is thrown off, which means now you're not rested, and now you might need coffee, and now like it starts a whole cycle of other things that happen. And also there are a lot of other hormones that they're responsible for, like the release of serotonin, which is our feel-good hormone. And so when that goes off, people start to fall into depression. Like this is how that cycle starts. And so getting sleep is so important. So having proper melatonin release is, now we did talk about melatonin supplements on the podcast, and how you do not want to be getting synthetic melatonin supplements, because it makes your pineal gland, it recognizes that it's in the body, and so it doesn't need to produce it. So now it's producing even less.
It's like fake sugar.
Yeah.
It's like eating fake sugar, and then you're tricking your body into producing insulin when there really wasn't any sugar there. So it's very similar effect as that.
So you got to be really careful with taking melatonin for sleep.
And proper rest is just so important. You look at our society today, like how much depression there is, and you know, people are never getting enough rest. We're all trying to do so many things, and drinking coffee and Monster energy drinks or whatever, you know, energy drinks, and then coffee. And
then, you know, people work a lot, they get stressed, so they, you know, turn to having drinks as well, like alcoholic drinks, and that just disrupts your sleep as well. Like, I don't know about you, but I never have a good sleep after a couple of really good glasses of red wine. So there are a lot of things. So what you really want to do is, if you want to be having good sleep, is you want to take care of your pineal gland. And we talk about that in the episode about all the great supplements that you can do, how to like improve your diet, how to remove fluoride from your from your diet, as well as like brushing your teeth, and maybe not getting the fluoride at the dentist. So
watch the toothpaste that you're using, drinking filtered water.
All of these things will help create a healthy pineal gland, which will in turn balance your melatonin release.
Okay, our next question is, I was shocked to hear that telepathic communication used to be normal before we started ingesting fluoride and other harmful chemicals every day. You said you've been experiencing telepathic communication with Lisa. So this question is to you, I guess, Nicole. What is that experience like? Well, just about 3 minutes ago, we were doing that as well.
We did.
Basically, we just never finish sentences. We just turn to each other, and I say, so, and then she says, yeah, we're going to do that. And I say, okay, because she knows exactly what I'm thinking all the time.
But I mean, this is normal for a lot of people, like couples, friends. You hear about people who just finish each other's sentence, like you just said. Like, this is part of telepathic communication. When you are about to call a friend and they're already calling you, or you go to call them and like they're already on the line, you're like, hello? Like, I'm sure that's happened to me tons of times.
I think that we, you know, slough that off as being coincidence though, and we don't want to believe that we have that type of power.
And that actually hinders your telepathic communication.
Yeah, we don't want to believe it. We don't want to believe that someone knows what we're thinking, but thoughts are things, you know, and so whether we say them out loud or we don't, they're still there, and it's still energy that's moving, you know, so they're there to be heard. Be careful what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's as long as you believe that it can't happen to you, or that it really doesn't exist, or that it's this airy-fairy kind of technique that only certain people have because they're psychic, then you're really doing yourself a disservice, and you're not going to be able to tap into that telepathic communication that you have. So first and foremost, believe that it's possible. Believe in the possibility. That's all you have to do. Just believe in the possibility, and then start paying attention to times where it may be happening, but you're writing it off as coincidence, or
and know that it's okay.
Yeah,
like it's not crazy. It's okay. But we talk about that in a few other podcasts about believing first. Like, you have to believe that things are possible before you can manifest them, you know, for yourself. So
yeah, intention is huge.
And telepathic communication is cool. It's so convenient.
Yeah, because let's face it, we don't have enough words to really describe the way we're feeling and all of the great things that are here in life. Telepathic communication also brings in the feelings behind it. So, you know, like, that's one of the problems with text messaging. There's no tone. You're not sure how someone said it. Well, like with telepathic communication, you don't have to worry about any of that. So,
right, you just know. It's just a knowing.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure everyone has probably experienced it at some point, but just didn't believe that it was that, because we don't want to believe that we're that powerful. But we are. Does humming or chanting play a part in stimulating the pineal gland to soften and produce DMT? Well, I personally had never heard of humming, but we did look that up to find out what hertz humming is on, because
it's not so much humming. I don't.
Chanting.
There is certain frequencies that will help. For instance, the 528 hertz is like really good for love. That's a love frequency. But to activate the pineal gland, 936 hertz sound frequency will help activate your pineal gland. So if you go onto YouTube and you just type in 936 hertz pineal gland, you're going to come up with all these different sounds that will actually help to activate your pineal gland. So that actually will help activate it. So that's another benefit, or something that you can do to decalcify if you're worried about a calcified pineal gland.
Pandora actually has those stations.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, I've been listening to them for months, and I actually listen to them while I sleep.
So those are all the questions that we had. If you're interested in hearing more of the podcast, you can go and listen to the full episode in iTunes, Enlighten Up, or if you want, you can go to our website, enlightenup.us. All the episodes are there as well. And we have a new one coming out this week on crystals, Atlantis, and Mike's Moneymaker. So looking forward to that one coming out. And if you haven't already, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're going to be uploading more videos. And
keep sending in your questions.
Yeah, keep sending in your questions. Send in your questions to info@enlightenup.us or to our Twitter, enlightenup.us. So thanks again for joining us today, and we hope that you find us and listen to us on our next podcast.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.